Dean Legge in Athens wrapping up Georgia's 2021 G-Day. The lighting is a little bit bad, but I'm going to roll some photos over the top of this thing. Let's talk about the Dogs. A lot of passing in this game. This is on purpose, according to Kirby and them. So this looks like a good team to me. I think teams that beat them are going to be, or it's going to be challenging because this team can really score. And the defense was certainly very good, I think, at the start of the game, but they just kept passing the ball over and over and over again, and it was just too much for Georgia's defense to sort of deal with. The secondary will have a challenge on its hands when they play Clemson because if you've got those receivers at Clemson, they're going to be difficult to deal with, and the quarterback they've got a good passing game, but Georgia does too. I think that what we saw today was essentially a glorified 7-on-7, but the passing down to the running backs, that turned out to be a lot of yards, almost 100 yards from Zamir and James. Edwards and Milton had another almost 60 on the other team. I mean, JT Daniels is not a spectacular physical freak. But he's a really good just quarterback, and there's got to be something said for that, and particularly at a time in this sport where so much of the game is how you throw the ball. So I think that, I'm just struck with it. It does seem like this is a good team, better than last year's team for sure, and probably better than the 19 team. I think this team is in the ballpark of the 17 and 18 group, probably better than the 12 group. But the hesitation that I have is we just don't know right off the bat how they're going to be. We're going to find out right off the bat, that's for sure. This is a real opportunity for Georgia. There's no Alabama on the schedule. There's no LSU. There are winnable games all along the way. I think that they get Clemson early I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's an opportunity because, Clemson ain't what they were last year. I don't think. And that Clemson team was not as good as, even if they were what they were last year, that Clemson team wasn't as good as a lot of the ones that they've been in the past. So this is really a great opportunity for Georgia to put the country on notice that they're here. But it's such a long year, and you can't, you will no more win the national championship than lose it the first game of the season. But when you take a look at what we saw today, there's just not a lot of games that this team's going to lose. Them losing to Florida would surprise me after what I saw today. And you don't want to get too overly one way or another after a G-Day, but they protected protected JT Daniels a lot, and I don't know. I mean, I get the feeling that the running backs will get it. The offensive line will get it figured out. I don't know that was so bad to begin with. I mean, Kirby was saying how they got to get a lot better, and there's no question that they're going to have to deal with some real deal guys in the league in the SEC. But they're just, this program is at the level now where they're just not going to lose a lot of games, and it's just turning into, are you going to win the big games? And last year they didn't. They did not win the two biggest games they played. They won every other game they played, but they did not win the two biggest. And they played some top 10 games last year, but you don't get credit if you don't get to Atlanta. So if they don't get to Atlanta, something has gone wrong. And you got a real problem there. Because I'm not so sure you don't get to Atlanta with Carson as your quarterback. I mean, Carson Beck looked up and down at times today, but I don't know that was his best game. I think he can play better than he did today. Brock Vandagriff, that was about what we saw in high school from him. I mean, he is extremely gifted as a runner. I've been talking about this for a long time, and today showed that this is not just about running away from single A private school kids. He was running away from some of the better defenders in the SEC. Carson, I think if he settles down, there were times when he looked better as a thrower than JT Daniels. But I think the difference right now is that JT Daniels is a quarterback in a way that a lot of other guys are not. And when you look at who is on this schedule, Clemson has a quarterback that certainly is a quarterback. Auburn, that remains to be seen, but certainly possible that Bo Nix could develop into a guy with a new coach. But Florida, you've got turnover. South Carolina, I don't know if they've got answers. Tennessee, there's just not a lot of people in your way. So, again, this is the opportunity for Georgia. This is a good Georgia team. This is a team that, they should get to Atlanta with a 50% or better shot of winning that game. And from that point forward, you're just in a dogfight no matter what. You're going to have to win the last 3 games of the season if you play in the SEC. You just are. And that's going to be the hard part, because beating Clemson or losing to Clemson, that just sort of kicks the season off. But it's going to be December when we know for sure if these guys can do it. And there's only one thing Kirby hasn't done here, and that's what he was paid to come to do. So I think that there's impatience or criticism. That I think it's justified. But I also think this is a gigantic opportunity for this program to come in and win the national championship this year. I mean, Oklahoma's going to be some trouble. Clemson obviously has always got a say in this thing because they kind of gift walk their way into the playoff. Alabama and maybe LSU and Max Johnson. We don't know. There's always someone that's around, and then Ohio State is a bit like Georgia in that they've been really good, but the guy that they have as their head coach just hasn't won the national championship there. So this is a good Georgia team. The defense is good. I'm not sure it's as good as we've seen in the past, but the sport has changed in the last 5 years in a way that it's obvious, and now you're seeing that Georgia is ready for that change. It seems like, because they're just getting the ball out quick and letting guys that are hard to tackle in the open field, they're making people do that. That's tough to do, even if you're as gifted as a first-round draft pick. I mean, the offense knows where they're going with the ball. The defense doesn't. They're having to guess. But I liked what I saw today. I think JT is not a perfect physical specimen, but I also think that position is about playing the position, playing chess rather than checkers, and he seems to do that pretty well. For whatever reason, he is comfortable, confident. He's just confident. He's comfortable. And the only way to beat this Georgia team is going to be to make JT Daniels uncomfortable. And even in those situations, like the Cincinnati game last year, you still might not win. Clemson certainly has a very good front four. But we didn't even see Georgia run the ball today. I don't know. I think this is a good team. And I think this is an opportunity to really be an explosive team this year. I mean, they almost threw for 700 yards total. So obviously some of this was on purpose, but they could do it. They knew how to play. They know what they're doing on offense. That has not been the case these last 2 years. I mean, Jake Fromm wasn't doing this. He was comfortable, but it's not the same. And so we're seeing a new era of quarterback at Georgia. And I think that's the part that's going to be so interesting for me personally to watch. I think they're pretty loaded up at quarterback. And the receivers are sick. I mean, we didn't even see today Burton, Rosemary Jack Saint, number 7, whose name escapes me all of a sudden, is a heck of a player. I mean, they're not there, and they were still making plays. A.D. Mitchell looks legit for sure. Terrence Edwards, not surprising, but Terrence Edwards completely correct there. And then Darnell, we know what Fitzpatrick can do. This is a lethal group, and I'm just waiting for James Cook to go out there and go for 70 yards or 30 yards like it's nothing. I mean, you didn't have Kenny McIntosh out there, who is a vital part of the passing game. See the Peach Bowl. This is a good team, and I don't know what will happen. I certainly don't know what will happen with the Clemson game, but this is going to be the barometer for what you're looking at and talking about going into the season. And it looked good, and they haven't lost since Jacksonville, and they're going to try to get the job done going in this 2021 season. They have a giant opportunity, and that they get to play Clemson at the beginning of the season is an opportunity too, because you could possibly knock them out. I doubt it. I mean, I doubt that they're going to get knocked out with a loss, but you could say, hey, you can't lose one of your, ACC slip-ups like Dabo has been known to do. So they have an opportunity to get rid of them in theory too, although you get what I'm saying. So I think they're good. I mean, I don't know who the best team in the country is. That's always so hard to say. And you would think it would be Alabama, just the way that they have recruited and developed. But this is a good Georgia team, for sure. And they need to get to Atlanta and see who's there and just deal with them that way. Dean Legge from Dog Post, wrapping it up from Sanford Stadium. We'll see you over on the website.